everybody. I'm Matt Valley. Welcome to episode number 83 of the Rock and Roll Research Podcast, where we share the super cool backstories and side gigs of the research and insights pros that you trust. So, in mid December, I decided to go to a happy hour, holiday happy hour for the Insights Association for DFW, that's Dallas Fort Worth. And I went there and I saw Angela Quinn sitting at a table. Now, I knew I had recognized Angela because I've seen her a lot on LinkedIn. And I did see that she was involved in a panel at the CRC, an LGBTQ panel that was really an incredible session, really insightful, very well received. And I thought, I've got to talk to Angela. I got to tell her about the panel. It was really cool. And I think we probably have a thing or two in common if we start talking. So we ended up talking for a long time, and it turned into going out for karaoke and having just an awesome night. So I'm really excited that we're here again chatting, Angela. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Matt. That was a wicked ass intro. We had such a great night. That was such great chats. And then we just ended up out singing karaoke. Not that I sing, but I was like grooving along, doing some chair dancing and clapping and cheering. You were great on the mic, by the way. But yeah, great.
I had such a fun night, dropping some. Well, actually, I skipped the Johnny Cash because somebody in your crew just actually proved it. So I had to go deep into my karaoke playbook, but I had a lot of fun nonetheless. So
yeah,
great times.
Yeah, I love those spontaneous nights or like lunches or whatever where things just happen and then you just end up doing something and hanging with new people and really getting to know them on a smaller level. They're good connections made.
Yeah, totally. I felt like we're old friends in a very short period of time. So cool, awesome. So one thing I gathered that when we were talking is that you are not a career market researcher. Not only are you not a career market researcher, but you're relatively new to Dallas, Texas as well. So I'd love to hear the story about what brought you to Dallas, what brought you to market research. So tell us all about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to start with a g'day, mate, just to settle where I'm from. so we can put that question back now.
It's hard for Americans to tell something.
Right?
Maybe she's Irish. I don't know. No.
So I the CEO of the previous company that I worked for, I actually knew through the LGBTQ community. And we had met and hung out and got along great. So they came over to Australia for the Australian Market Research Conference. I forget the acronym. Anyway, it's this huge to-do affair that's in Melbourne, which is my hometown in Australia when I'm there. So they came over and their business partner was coming over, and I was just showing them around town and showing them, my city that I absolutely love, and taking them on graffiti tours and introducing them to coffee and incredible food in Australia. Anyway,
sure.
I'm going off track here. Their partner wasn't able to make it last minute. There was a 1-day delay with paperwork, something or other. So they said, come with me. And I'm like, these are like $2,500 tickets to a corporate event. I am not corporate looking. I'm covered in tattoos. I got piercings. Like, are you sure you want to take me? Like, I don't know that this is a good business decision. And they said, you could be in corporate. Anyone can be in corporate. It doesn't matter how you look. You don't need to know the ins and outs of everything that my business does or this industry does. Come along and be your normal, friendly, chatty self. I'm like, oh, I can do that. That's all right. So I rocked along, and we just ended up chatting to everybody and anybody. And I think because both Anne, the CEO of the company that I worked for, they and I both look a little bit or substantially out of the box in a market research industry crowd, that it actually brought people to us. So people were coming up to
Sure.
us and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I found out last month that my niece is queer and I'm just so excited about it." And these were the stories that people were coming up to us with. So it was an amazing experience for me stepping into something that was so corporate. I'd never been, I think the last time I'd been around a corporate audience was when I was a magician's assistant. So
Interesting.
I wasn't actually in the crowd. I was just performing up on the stage.
You were getting
So
sawed in half in the box kind of thing, or?
I had to get out of the straitjacket. That was kind of
Oh,
tricky.
cool, cool.
And then at the end, I ripped my wig off, and my hair was bald at the time, and I loved it. Anyway,
It's not a
anyway,
bad thing, you know?
no,
It's a-
it is a good look. So ended up at this conference. I had a great time. Chatted to so many people. Ended up managing to get in front of people that Anne had been trying to speak to for ages, and just hadn't had a moment to network with them yet. And I am like there in all of my just happy Angela go lucky, let's meet some people and have some fun. So after that, I helped them out with a little bit of marketing that they that I could see could do with a tweak here and there, and some
Sure.
wording and language editing kind of stuff. And then I ended up doing some sales stuff, and then I ended up handling all of the accounts for the company, and handed over the last 3 accounts to me at the beginning of 2020. So from that moment on, I was handling all of the new incoming clients as well as all of our previous clients, and just building the company and having a great time. I got to experience being a project manager, and the this side of the team. So the phone team was is in India, but this side of the team is quite small. So getting to really connect with the people here in the industry here, I just had a great time, and I'm
Yeah.
fine with looking like I don't look like everyone else. Like that's not a problem for me. And so I continue to do that and continue to have a good time and meet great people,
Yeah.
luckily.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Excellent.
that's how I got in and shuffled myself into a position and started, doing some star jumps.
Yeah. Well, it seems to me that you mixed right in right away. And I don't know, maybe it is, like you said, the fact that you look a little bit different, that maybe people are drawn to you, or at least it's more memorable, right? So I feel like you're kind of everywhere, right? So I was excited to finally get a chance to talk to you, because it's like, she knows everybody in the industry. It's like, what am I missing? I've got to talk to her too. I should know her also. So you've made a big impression in a short period of time. So that's cool.
Oh, thank you. As long as it's a good impression, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Very good impression. So, uh, in addition to market research, your new industry that you've sort of adopted, you also are involved in other things, right? And maybe that have a commercial aspect to them as well. So I know that you are really quite a skilled leather worker,
I
and that's really interesting and exciting to me, because we haven't had such a guest so far on the podcast. So let's hear a little bit about that.
Sure. So I don't even know how many years ago. Let's take a stab. 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I was in between jobs, and my partner at the time used to do a bit of leather work, and I was obsessed with those like funky steampunk top hats.
Yeah,
That was happening
looking
10.
at one over the weekend.
Yeah, yeah, that's what was going on. So I was like, I want to make these. And they showed me what they could, and they let me use, the bit of equipment that they had. And I got some secondhand leather and some donated leather, and I ended up making maybe a dozen of these hats. And I bought myself a little airbrush, so I was airbrushing them, and I was, putting fishnet on some of them and sticking fake flowers on others, and just having a wild time being super creative with whatever leather fell in my lap, learning how to hand stitch, which takes a while.
Yeah.
And anyway, a friend of ours who runs a alternative festival in Melbourne, Australia, saw my hats because they're up on Facebook, and I was like, "Wee, look what I'm doing! It's so much fun!" So they were like, "You should have a stall at the festival and sell your hats." I'm like, well, I don't really know that I'm at that level. And they're like, "Just come along and have some fun and stick your hats up on a table." I'm like, "Oh, I can do that." So so I went to the festival and I ended up selling nearly all of them. Um, and I was quite surprised. I was like, "Oh, okay." So my creativity and fanciful kind of grabbing whatever the universe puts in my lap and whatever is given and whatever I've got arty crafty laying around the house, and I can hodgepodge this stuff together and sell it to somebody. And some of the hats were really quite out there, and to find the hat that belongs to the person, I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that you were who I was making it for. I didn't really know at the time." Like,
Is it
it's
kind
just
of is it kind of like Harry Potter where the wand chooses the wizard? You've got the hat, the person comes along, you're like,
yes,
"Oh my God, this hat is yours."
right, right. And hats were so different. I
Yeah,
didn't have a lot of leather, and I was picking up stuff from the op shop, like a thrift store, an
yeah.
opportunity shop. We call them op shops in Australia.
Okay.
So, so I was just picking up kind of whatever landed. Anyway, a couple of years later, I'm now working with leather. I've got myself a little part-time job just to pay a few of the bills, but I start up a business, register my name, and start making more and more stuff. And my friends are requesting stuff, and then people are finding me on social media, and they're like, "Hey, oh my gosh, I had this one dude approach me who was he goes to the conferences where they dress up. I can't Ren fairs. He goes to Ren
Yeah.
fairs and he's into the sword fighting stuff. Anyway, him and his person, they were getting married, and he wanted this thing made for him out of leather that holds a sword, but it had to be made for his sword. And I was just like, okay. I had to Google. I don't really remember the name of the thing now, but I had to Google
Like a
what it was.
scabbard?
Yeah, but it's the piece of leather that hangs on your body that holds it,
Yeah.
it's got a special anyway.
Okay.
I'm googling it. I'm like, I could do that. But yeah, that's fine. So I ended up making a piece for this dude's wedding. Anyway, moving further down the track, I ended up having the person who runs the festival in Australia asked me to um, enter some of my stuff in the fashion parade. They have an alternative fashion parade, which is kind of the highlight of this event.
Sure.
And so I rounded up a bunch of my queer, very, very queer friends of all different body types and assigned different genders at birth, and all of the I kind of wanted, like, diversity is so important to me. I wanted a splash of all of the flavors up on stage. And then some of them I kitted out in stuff that I'd already made or had been working on. One of my models, I just hadn't quite gotten around to figuring out what she was wearing for the parade. I'd organized the song and the layout and the dance steps and all of that sort of stuff, but I hadn't. There was this one model that I still had to dress, and so I went to her house and I'm like, "All right, get me your 3 favorite items out of your wardrobe." And
Yeah.
she comes back, and one of them is like this kind of fitted vest with tails and this giant hood hanging off the back of it, no sleeves, super super cute. And I'm like, all right, oh, I can do that. So I just took it and I made a pattern out of it, and made a leather version with some red satin lining, and it was super sexy. Anyway, yeah, it was a great piece, but just I really enjoyed with the leather work because I didn't have training. I didn't have somebody telling me how to do or what to do or why to do it. Was all just up to me to put my passion and curiosity into this new format. I'd been painting for years and years. And
Yeah.
when I picked up leather, I put down the paintbrush, and this was my new medium. So it was fantastic. Yeah. Leatherwork was amazing.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. So I think I got a question because I watch a lot of the designing reality competitive shows.
Hmm.
And it was one of the things that really struck me is you think about the creative aspect, but
Yeah.
then there's the blood and sweat aspect where it's like, wow, there's so much tedium that has to be paired with the creativity. So the work that you do, what is that balance between the actual creative and the tedium of the manufacturer?
Do you know what? When I got really, really bored of making the same thing, I just stopped and made something else.
Yeah.
I don't I don't know that it really got very tedious for me, because I didn't have, like, my business was what I created and the
Yeah,
stuff that I had. I mean, there was people that had orders. I always had a list of people that wanted specific things in particular
sure.
colors or whatever else. But outside of that, if I got tired of making the same pattern or busting out the same accessory or whatever, then I just stop and make something else. Like,
Yeah,
there's so much more that goes into something when you're creating with your hands, and it's coming from your mind and with your passion and your blood, sweat, and tears. There's so much more, I think, that you can create when you have the freedom to just explore any options. Not often, I sometimes would be looking through couture, or looking through fashion wear, or looking through odd, just odd clothing items of any description, having a look at how the material sits or where it's worn on the body, and understanding, how leather works as far as a material.
yeah.
And I would just make that thing out of leather. And
Mhm.
often, often I would just make the first one on me, call it medium, and then and the next pattern sizes would be bigger or smaller than that. I just, yeah. And then of course I was open to anybody kind of reaching out and going, "Hey, can you do this?" And I'm like, "Well, I haven't before, but let's have a crack." So
Yeah,
so I did. So I didn't really get super tedious at any point.
yeah. Yeah, cool. You get to self-select what you work on, all right? So it
Right.
doesn't get boring. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. Cool. Okay, so I've got a question about research, right? Because you kind of came in from the outside, you really did fall into it, right? By attending a conference, and then, hey, I could do this, I can help out here, and you just kind of became involved. So I'm sure you had an impression of you come in with an outside in perspective, right? So you come in outside of research, and you have a chance to observe it. What are some of your impressions of the research industry or people in the research industry? Any thoughts?
I think in the beginning I didn't actually really know anything about it.
Yeah,
With that first conference that I was at, I really didn't know much at all. Um, I knew that I was stepping into the corporate world, and there was a truckload of money, like, floating around in this industry. That's all I knew. Um,
sure.
as the last 4.5 years have gone along, and I've gotten to learn so much more. If Yeah, I don't know. There's so many ways to answer that question. I don't know. It's a handful of people uh, that know the value of data, and are reaping the rewards. Great business. It's also such a huge opportunity to help out people that don't have the means, or that don't have the knowledge, or some of the conferences that I've been to and the sessions I've been able to attend, the stuff that people can do with market research that ethically just makes my heart soar and my eyes well up with tears. Like, there is so much good that can be done with this. And, and it shits me to tears that we're collecting data for the people that have way too much money in this world anyway. So, there's that aspect of it, but there's also this other aspect of it, which is for me is really, really real. And the exciting thing now, a few years down the track since I came in, is all of these conversations about diversity and equity and inclusivity and gender identity and all of these things that are a part of my world day in, day out. And the conversations that I have with my friends, and this is my normal life. Seeing that come into, oh, my puppy dog's saying hello. This is Milo. Seeing that come into our very, very corporate world, it just makes my, floats my boat right down the river. I love it.
Yeah. So do you think that market researchers are more open to these conversations than maybe other industries, or any thoughts on that? Curious.
Yeah, I would hope that we are at the forefront of the corporate world moving forward, in that if we're not asking the questions in market research, and if we're not making these suggestions when surveys are being written, and if we're not talking to the end clients and saying, hey, you're collecting this data, but you're only collecting 70% of the data that's out there because of the way that you frame these questions, or because you exclude a bunch of your audience by offering 2 options when it comes to gender. Like, we need to be at the beginning. I hope we're not. I hope that this is not just happening in 2022. I hope these conversations have been around in corporate world, in different industries, for much, much longer than that. I think that we have the power and the ability to make some huge changes in this area, given the industry that we work in.
Yeah. So that kind of presages a bit how you might answer my next question, which is how you view the future. What is going to be important in the future of research, or you could be more idealistic too. What do you hope it looks like?
Right. I think from a few years ago, when I walked into a conference or a meeting, and it's pardon me, and it's majority of the people there are white, middle-aged cis men. I think that that's changing, and I think along with that, with younger people coming into the industry, market research being able to be studied at university level. You can get your degrees now, you can do your courses, you can become certified and qualified. There are people in the industry now that meant to be here. They didn't fall into it or somehow end up in it, like us older grey-haired people. So I think that change is coming, and I think that those younger voices are going to get heard more. And I think that if those older dudes that have been around since, for 20 years, since the beginning, if they're not open to change, then they're going to end up losing. So what I see happening is the influx of the younger crowd coming in. And that is so exciting, with the new ideas and new language, new understandings, an ability to look at what we're doing and go, hey, you're missing this, or hey, did you notice that? So I think that change is going to be incredible. I think that there's just change coming.
Yeah, very, very exciting. It feels like a lot has changed, and a lot of the conversations are different. So it is inspiring to see that the industry is capable of adapting and dare I say, perhaps even leading. And you've been a part of that. So I thank you for that. So good stuff.
Thank
All
you.
right. Okay, so something I'm curious about, right? So you're from Australia, you're living in Texas,
Yes.
um, and you've now been involved in the insights industry. So I'm curious to know from a media perspective, what media do you consume? Big broad question, either for insight, inspiration, or enjoyment. What's on your list?
Do you know what? I kind of on LinkedIn clicking links. So I find
Yeah.
myself in odd places listening to, sometimes I end up on YouTube watching somebody give a chat. Sometimes I end up being invited into, you know, a Zoom with 100 other people, and I just get to listen in while I'm typing away on the keyboard. But often it's via LinkedIn and industry connections. People send me stuff. They're like, "Hey, this is happening soon. You'd be totally into it. It's right up your alley. Jump on and have a listen." Or friends in the industry reaching out and saying, "Hey, we've got this group starting up, and hey, we're doing this work at the moment, and hey, like, come and listen. It's You'd be into it."
Yeah.
So friends in the industry, and then wandering around on LinkedIn and clicking on all of those links, and sending back the little invitation going, "Yes, please. I'd like to sit in on this."
I'm so glad to hear you say that because, of course, this podcast relies on that very behavior, right? So it's great to hear that people are doing that. I'm very similar, right? So I'll go down the hole in LinkedIn and this looks interesting. Follow it down, takes me to the next thing.
Right.
Um, so I'm not alone. I'm glad to hear
Yeah.
that.
And then, like, comments and links from other people that have
Yeah,
attended, and connecting with people via, when I start to see a familiar face that is tuning into similar things that I'm tuning into, I'm like, "Oh, how about we connect?"
yeah,
It's great to connect with like-minded people. And
exactly.
yeah,
Which you're definitely telling the truth because I know that one of the things that we confirm is like, oh, you know what, we should be connected on LinkedIn, and we
yeah,
get onto LinkedIn when we're sitting and having a drink or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, we're already connected. Of
already connected.
course we are.
Yeah. Yeah. I like people. I think I had the opportunity to study psychology for just over 3 years. And I had to press pause on that a little while ago. But yeah, but people float my boat. How why they what they why they do what they do, and how they tick, and how they work, and how they're different, and like, yeah, very much a people person. I
Yeah,
like.
you're definitely in the right industry for that. So that's great.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, we've gotten this far into the program and we have not even talked rock and roll. So that's the note that we have to finish on because this is the rock and roll research podcast after all, right, Angela?
Yeah.
And I'm really interested to know this because I did sing karaoke in front of you, but I don't really know what music moves you. And I suppose I will find that out. Always my favorite question. So, Angela, let's say you're stranded on a desert island somewhere off the coast of Australia, I guess, but with no access to the mainland for the rest of your days, right? And all
Yeah.
you have, maybe some coconuts, here and there, but you have three records of your choosing to keep you company for the rest of your days. What are they?
Well, do they have to be a full record, or can it just be a single? The little, because I've got visuals of the singles that I would throw on
Yeah,
the record player, and then
yeah,
and
sure.
bigger ones.
That's a record. I mean, if
Okay.
you hear the same song over and over and over again for like 50 years, that's up to you. It's still your.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
fair.
I mean, well, right. Well, now I'm questioning. Well, no, because I like new things. Okay, I wrote this down on my hand because I'm because I remember things and then I forget them sometimes, and I'm like, oh, I really want to say these. So, oh, it started to fade. Okay, Queer by Garbage. Love that song.
Oh, yes, by Garbage.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah. A big favorite of my daughter and I. We went and saw Garbage last summer. So, yes, love it.
That
Big
was
fan.
cool. Pink because she's cool as rockstar, and I'm really down with all of the things that she fights for. As soon
Yeah.
as there's something that makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, Pink's written a song about it. Like, I'm like, we're in sync. So
Awesome.
the new
Love
her new song Irrelevant hits home for me, and
awesome.
mad about the same thing. So, yeah, so that's great. And the proceeds going to the, I've forgotten all of the, yeah.
It's not on your hand. It's not
Great.
on your
All right. Okay.
It's going to, no, okay, sorry.
What's the last one? Oh, okay. This one, now, can we negotiate on the record? Because for this one, I not only love the song, but I fell in love with the song hardcore because of the video that goes with it. So can we throw in like the YouTube clip for this, not just the record?
Okay. In the
Okay.
interest of moving this along, yes,
So this song that I'm obsessed with at the moment, it's very, I don't even know how old it is. Anyway, it's called Chunky by Trampster. And it's like dance music, like dancing all over the place.
I don't know it. Yeah.
But the film clip is all of these short clips from really old movies of people dancing and jumping and doing the splits and like just loving life. So all of these little clips from old movies, Shirley Temple's on there, there's heaps of people.
Yeah.
Like they remind me of sitting at Grampy and Grandma's watching movies when I was little, and all of the happiness in the movements of the people in the film clip. I'm just like, yes, I want to get up and get out there and enjoy life. Yes, let's dance and let's have friends over, and let's it just puts me in that mood, whether I was there beforehand or not, after listening to Chunky. And there again.
Awesome. Well, that makes a ton of sense, right? Because you could stay in that mindset for the rest of your life on an island. So that makes perfect sense. All right. Cool. Excellent. Angela, this has been a great pleasure. I look forward to next time. I mean, I'm in Dallas. You're nearby too. So I'm sure I will see you soon.
Yeah.
If I have anything to say about it, at least. So
yes, I would love to. I think you should do more karaoke while I'm sipping on a whiskey and cheering you on from the sidelines. I could do some backup dancing. I'm a great backup dancer. But yes, we should do that again. Knock back a beer.
All right, count me in. Excellent. Well, let's talk soon and let's do some karaoke and rock and roll.
Oh, I did it wrong. There we go.